So I don't have a fancy acronym for you, but what I do have is I kind of tell it in a story, and telling it in a story helps me remember all 6 pretty reasonably. So your first one, we're going to talk about forward presence. Okay, so we have to have forward presence. Through forward presence, we're establishing our maritime forces. This is actually the centerpiece of our core capability. If we establish ourselves, then that is known throughout the world. So we have to have forward presence. The next is we have to have power projection. So power projection allows us, it's the ability to protect the sea. So we're flexing our muscles. We're saying we're bigger than you. Don't fuck with us, right? So you have that forward intimidating presence, you have that power projection, then that is ultimately going to create deterrence, right? And that's, we don't want to have war, so this is our way of preventing war. It's just as it's important as winning war, we also need to prevent it. So that's the deterrence part of this. So forward presence, power projection, deterrence. By having that establishes this, then that gives us our sea control. Sea control is what allows us to protect the ability to operate freely on the water and keep enemies from attacking us. So having that control is important. And then the final one, or not the final one, but of this story that I'm speaking about. So sea control, and then forward presence, power projection, deterrence, sea control, maritime security. So by having maritime security, then that allows us to, again, we're trying to prevent issues from arising. So drug trafficking, any terrorist activities, us having that ability to mitigate that is what gives us that maritime security. Having all of this, then we can provide humanitarian aid throughout the world. Whenever Mother Nature decides to get pissed off or other outside forces cause detriment to a country. That is your core capabilities. Moving into your aviation communities. So we're going to start with HSC. So we know that H stands for helicopter. This right here is sea combat. So don't think that just because the letters are in the title, then that's what it is, because a lot of these you'll see are not like that. So this is sea combat. So what I want you to think about is what's happening on the surface. So mine countermeasures, search and rescue, logistics, they do all of that. Okay, so that's HSC. When we're talking about HSM, now this is where they swap. Okay, so this is maritime strike. You see how I'm not writing helicopter in here, because you don't have to say helicopter maritime strike. You automatically know this is a helicopter unit. Okay, maritime strike. To remember this one, think about maritime water. You're striking the water. You're striking at the water. So these are your anti-subs, your anti-ships. All right, they strike. And then you have your helicopter training. That should be easy. That's the one everyone wants to be asked during a board. It's a no-brainer. All right, now we're going to roll down into our V's. So anytime you see a V, this is talking about a fixed wing aircraft. Again, you do not have to say fixed wing. V, it's automatically assumed. The way I remember this, when you see a Q, when you're going through your aviation communities, I want you to think like secret squirrel shit, or they're doing special shit. So these guys, they come in, these are your growlers. So they have pods at the end of the tip of their wings, the easiest way to describe this, that cause jammers. So they suppress, they degrade, they jam enemy electronics so that your strike fighters can come in, we'll get to that in a second, they can come in and do their job more efficiently because they are protecting them. So, being that it's a Growler, it's tactical, right? Unlike our C-130, she's fat and slow, but F-18s, they're tactical, okay? And then they use, so we were talking before in CBR about warfare, they use electronic warfare to their gain. So VAQ. So anytime you see Q, that needs to be like something that just, okay, those are special motherfuckers. All right. VAW. All right. These guys, you have some letters that can help trigger this. Airborne warning, right? But they're telling to the carriers about what's going on around. So their carrier, airborne early warning. You want to be told whenever it's last minute. So they are constantly going around and being able to ping back and tell them what's around them. VC, more commonly VFC. So think of this fleet composite, okay? So fleet composite, these guys they play the adversary role. So they simulate being bad guys. For instance, VFC-12. They're painted up like Russian MiGs, and they play dogfighting with other squadrons to teach them how to be more efficient at their job. So those are your VFC adversary units. VFA, this is what I was talking about earlier. These are your strike fighters, your F-18s. Okay, they're out to do all the dogfighting that we were talking about here. Your VFC, which are also F-18s, are fighting your VFA. All right, VP, pretty simple. P3s or P8s, they patrol. So they go out, they perform anti-submarine warfare. They have the sonar buoys. So they do a lot of surveillance and patrol, which is exactly in their name. VQ, here's that other Q that I was talking about. So we know that AQ is tactical electronic warfare. So when you see this Q, I just want you to think VAQ goes far. And what I get from far is this is a fleet air recon. I'm not going to spell the whole word out, but there's FAR. So just think of it like that. VQ goes far. Okay. They also are doing some special secret stuff out there. They're utilizing electronic warfare, just like VAQ is. Okay. But they do search, interception, recording. They do analysis. So these are your special guys out there doing the behind the scenes work. Okay. All right. The next one, VR and VRC. So to help you remember this, because a lot of people, they like to confuse them or not remember everything that's in it. This is aircraft logistics support. Okay. The way I remember this, we utilize an aircraft. Obviously, this one utilizes an aircraft as well. I get that, but we're not going to carriers, which is what this is going to come down to. Through aircraft, we provide logistics support. Okay, so with this one, the only thing that's different, logistics support is exactly the same. You just say carrier logistics support. VT, here's another one of those really easy ones. This is training. So training, helicopter training, fixed wing training. And then finally, we have VX, VXE. Your air test and evaluation. Okay, these are the guys that go out and test things to make sure that they work, or they're even worth it to implement into our aircraft. So they have all sorts of planes that they're consistently working with to make upgrades and changes and so forth. So that covers your 6 core capabilities and your aviation communities. Now for the fun stuff. So, ComSec. So we don't want, ComSec is communication security. We don't want our stuff out there. So we need to keep it under lockdown. So there's ComSec material that we want to keep on lockdown. So there are ComSec accounts that are throughout the federal government that are used to ensure that this is maintained, or that our security is maintained for whatever transmissions and communications that are being done. So with that, we have a CMS custodian. And this is someone who is designated in writing via the CO, okay? And this guy is the principal advisor to the CO on ComSec material. The next thing is there is something called a TPI, and that means two-person integrity. So at no point in time is ComSec material going to be handled by a single person. In fact, it's so tight-knit that whenever it's got to be a constant view of both individuals, and whenever they go into the lock, there are 2 separate approved combination locks that no one person has the code for both locks. So that maintains that you have to have 2 people that's holding onto your ComSec material at all time. So that's essentially ComSec. Information system terms. So encryption. You can do this on your computer, your Outlook. This is just converting whatever it is you're sending, and it's scribbling it up to where it makes it unreadable to something that's trying to take what you're sending. So it's, they call it ciphertext. So it's something that they just can't interpret. Authentication. So you authenticate whenever you log into a Navy restricted site with your CAT card. So it's to validate that you are who you are and that you're doing what you're doing. Pretty short and to the point. Access. Access is telling you that you have the right to obtain knowledge. To obtain knowledge. Okay. Classification is so there's different classification levels that we're going to cover in a second. So it's a determining process of what level of classification we're talking about. Is it low? Is it serious? Is it actually like threatening? But we'll cover that in a second. So it's a determination of information that is that can be detrimental to security. Compromise. Pretty much what do you think it is? You're actually it's a security violation. Compromised material. Need to know. Need to know. Hey, if you don't need to know, then you don't need to know. It's for whoever hey, you should know, but you shouldn't know. So whatever a recipient is required to know. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to write that down. Restricted, again, it's in the name. Restricted, certain people can get in, certain people can't. And that's it. Clearance. So clearance is your, most if not all of you have some sort of security clearance. So this is your eligibility for whatever access level you were granted, and that's what clearance is. All right, so then it jumps down into personal security program. And this is just to ensure integrity and ensuring that initial and ongoing access evaluation is tracked to ensure trustworthy, reliable, loyal people have the access that they should have access to. If someone has special access in one command, transfers to another command, they don't need to maintain that special access that they had before. So that is your personnel security program. For proper destruction procedures for classified methods. So for this, I use the acronym PODS. Okay. So it's the physical destruction, if you're actually physical destruction of the material. Make sure I spell this. Overriding, yeah. Overriding. Degaussing, there it is. Make sure I spelled that right. Degaussing. And then sanding. So those are your 4 ways of destroying classified material. So now we shift into our classified material groups. And there's a lot of words, but really the biggest thing that you need to remember is that if it's confidential, which is blue, okay, it's damage. It can cause damage, or it can be expected to cause damage, right? If it is secret, red, you're dead, serious damage. Nope. Top secret, we have, so, top secret. I always think Agent Orange with this. Substance use in Vietnam, but I mean, just like this is gonna cause some serious shit, right? So exceptionally grave damage. So Agent Orange caused a lot of damage. So I don't know why I wrote Agent Orange right here. It's just orange, right? So just think of it like that. Big shit, right? Top secret, it's orange, exceptionally grave damage. So no foreign. This is just an easy way of saying, don't release this shit to foreign nationals. I don't need to write up there what that means. Don't give that to a foreign national, period. FOUO. That is a way for official use only, right? So this is what goes on unclassified material, or something that has become declassified will now become FOUO. And that's per USC blah blah section, whatever. Really just understand what this stuff is. You know, you start digging into the nitty-gritty. Section 522 if you really want to know, but just understand that for your official use only, it's for unclassified or stuff that's become declassified will become FOUO. And that wraps up naval platforms.